because I really want the voters to be informed. I mean, I really do. I welcome that opportunity. So we will see what happens. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say. But I will be there. I will be there.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Will he be there?
Notice how I put it. I will be there. I'm only responsible for myself, okay? I will be there. I will be there. Other questions, please?
I have a,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
now, I have a question that's not political, but it might help.
Okay.
I have people call me sheep, scoring.
Randy Scott. So you're responsible for that.
He's wrong, but I think he's a good person.
He is a great person.
Great person.
And we serve.
He's a good as you, he's a good person breaking the law. That's the way I thought it.
I like you. Randy Scott and I and my husband served many years on the Orlando Police Department together. I worked for then Captain Scoggins, and so he is a real good guy. And one who will listen, and that's a good thing. And one who you will see out in the community, and that's a good thing too.
A good chief.
He's a good chief. Let me see if he's written a check to my campaign. Let me hold that thought, okay? Check it out. So that he is a good man.
I know you do.
Well, yes, sir.
I think one of the biggest challenges we have is overcoming the Citizens United. And what do you think of that? What can a congresswoman do about that? And what can we do about that?
You know, you've heard a lot of rhetoric about there's an attempt to try to buy the election. You know, I believe you control those things you can't control. Anybody who says corporations are people, they're out of their mind. There I go again. That's probably not politically correct. But that is ridiculous. But you control those things you can't control. I cannot believe the U.S. Supreme Court said that was constitutional. But we control the things we can control. And there have been a lot of conversation along the campaign trail about finance reform and campaigns. It's a shame when the almighty dollar picks your representative as opposed to the people picking the person who they feel can better represent them. And remember what I said about that ground war? I don't know how much money Citizens United and other super PACs are going to pour into this election. I know that I have far outraised my opponent. I know that I don't have a primary opponent. I know that. But I don't know how much money others are going to pour into the election. I cannot control that. But what I can control is going to every voter that I can, saying, do not let money decide this election for you. Get to the polls and vote. That you can control. And that's what I'm talking about, this ground war. We can win it on the ground. If people make sure you have the proper ID, make sure that people on the street, in your community, at church, and every place else you frequent are knowledgeable of what they need to go to the polls. Vote early, so you won't get there on November or August 14th, because we do have that primary thing. But August 14th, don't wait till the day of voting. Make sure you have the proper documents. Vote early. Vote by absentee. Now for me, I think my documentation is in order, although I did receive a letter in the mail that said I need to verify my signature. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do that. Sign it before I sign again. But I go and stand in line at the poll on election. And I do it just because it's symbolic for me. I think about the people who could not stand there. The people who died fighting for women and other minorities to have the right to stand there. And so I stand there kind of as a tribute to them. And you think about Susan B. Anthony, who fought so many years for women to have the right to vote. She never had the ability to vote, but we're able to vote because she stood there. And so that's just what I do. But we need to encourage people to vote early and vote absentee. And that's how we're going to defeat Citizens United when we can. But we've got to get in Congress and really make finance reform, election reform, one of our top priorities.
You mentioned that you are receiving funds, and I guess I'm curious to know, where does the money go? Is it going to go for, I'm assuming it's going to eventually go for television advertising, and if it is, I just wanted to say, I really hope you tell your story and keep it really positive. It's about you and the issues, it's not about
It's just, see, I mean, it's just not. Nobody, well, okay, let me just preface this statement with this. If you take a shot at me, I'm going to shoot back. But this election is not about the other person. It is about me and what I plan to do when I get to Congress. And so my approach, my style is very positive. Always been very upbeat and positive. As a leader of 1,000 men and women, how can I motivate them to go out and give it their all on the street, treat people with dignity and respect? Don't disappoint the people who are dependent on you. If I was walking around the station every day all negative and, God, look at, how am I going to motivate them? They worked their butts off for me because they were motivated. And I realized that my most valuable resource at the Orlando Police Department, we drove some pretty fancy cars and we had some nice equipment and a decent building, nice looking sharp uniform. But my most valuable resource for the men and women of that age. They knew, I gave them clear direction. I held them accountable because I didn't play with them. But I also took care of their needs. And that's how for the money, I spend my campaign staff, and they're really listening very closely to what I'm saying right now. But I spend hours a day on the phone asking people for money. Now, as a police chief, someone who has spent all of her adult life giving, that's what my mother and father taught me. They said, you take care of other people and God will take care of you. And so when you spend your time giving, and as a chief, I used to spend the time on the phone calling, asking for money for nonprofits. But it's brutal. Spending 6 hours on the phone a day, asking people for money for this campaign. It's brutal. But what I realized, if I'm really committed to going to Washington and representing you, I got to do it. Because at the end of the day, the district is huge. Oh no, they gave me a nice U-shaped district. 22 cities in Lake County, 5 cities in Polk County, and then they threw a little of Orlando Orange in there for good measure. They didn't give me too much of that loud, noisy city in Orlando, but I'm thankful for what I have. But I've got to communicate. How many meetings like this can I have? And so I've got to communicate, get my message out. And the majority of the money is to help me do that. It is for those television ads and radio ads and direct mail pieces and all of that. That's the only way I can get my message. And so I'm encouraged and motivated every day. You know, it's interesting. I called somebody, hello, Mrs. Smith, how are you doing today? You don't know me, but I need you to give me $1,000. We'll talk about it later. But the response has really been wonderful. The response has been wonderful, and it really has been a very humbling experience for me. The journey for me has been wonderful. People have, now everybody has, but overall, voters have clearly communicated that they want something different, that they trust me to do what I say I'm going to do. They trust me to reach across the aisle and work with other reasonable people and do what is in the best interest of the people in Lake County and Orange County and Polk County. And so the response has been wonderful. Really nice. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Don't mean to put you on the spot, but you know that the president has not been able to
you're working for is bigger than any individual or any party. It's about doing what is in the best interest of the people. And what we have seen now, Republicans and Democrats, we've always had a strong two-party system in our country. We always have. But we've always been able, through tough times, to get to that table and make decisions that were in the best interest of the country. All the yelling, screaming, and arguing, and political differences and philosophy. But in the toughest of times, that's when we came together as a nation. We're not seeing that anymore. And there was a clear change with the Tea Party, Republicans. There was a clear change in that decisiveness. And so I'm committed to going there, sitting at the table, preaching across the aisle, bringing people back together and saying, the American people are bigger than you and me. Let's lay our differences aside and work our butts off for them. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think there's ever any success of the gun control law?
Success and gun control.
Any changes?
Well, let me just say this. What has happened in Colorado is all too familiar. As a 27-year law enforcement officer, I have been exposed and witnessed gun violence on the streets. And so first of all, we look at the number of people who died in Colorado. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family, like I know it does for everybody else in this room. I'm a gun owner. I have more than one. I'm not going to tell you how many. I'm not going to tell you if I have one right now. More than one. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. But when we have a tragedy like we've seen in Colorado, we have an obligation to look at how it happened and why it happened, and see what measures we can come up with to prevent it from happening again. I believe we have to work hard to keep guns out of the hands of convicted felons and out of the hands of mentally deranged people. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment and our right to bear arms. It's about keeping guns out of the hands of convicted felons and mentally deranged people. And we've got to come to the table and work hard to do that. A 6-year-old girl died out in Colorado watching a movie. And that's a shame. Yes, sir.
I think I have more to say than that. Once you get into office, do you think you would do anything? Because I see so many people, well, actually I see the other side of the aisle now, trying to disenfranchise so many Americans. And it is, to me, that is so un-American. I haven't seen or read anything like this happening in American history since maybe the end of Reconstruction, where people were trying to deny other people the right to vote. I think that is so fundamentally un-American.
When you hear the argument, well, shouldn't you have ID to vote? Well, come on. Of course. You should have ID to vote, some form of ID to vote. That makes sense. But when a college student cannot use their college ID, but a person in Texas can use their gun permit. I'm just saying there's something wrong with that. I remember my mom, think about my mom who, many years ago, she developed glaucoma. Didn't tell anybody, of course not. She was driving, and so she, that's what I said. She was driving, and she started having these accidents. And so you know what happened. They called her in to retest. So she went to the driver's license bureau and couldn't pass the vision test. They took her license. So now I was in Orlando, I'm with the police department, she's in Jacksonville, and she called me that evening, and she was hot. She was mad. She said, they took my license, and I couldn't pass it. I just listened. know, she was upset, but we were really happy. We were happy that she had the park, and we were happy that we didn't have to wrestle the keys away from her, that the Division of Motor Vehicles did it for us. But anyway, so she's telling me about, you know, they took my license, and I'm listening, then I said, it dawned on me, I said, well, Mom, how did you get home? And she said, I got in my car and drove home. Mom, look, your daughter's a police officer and your son-in-law. Please don't tell anybody else that you were on the road driving without a driver's license, okay? But I tell that story to say they took her license. Now, my mother had voted, faithful voter, for a whole bunch of years up until then. She said she no longer have a photo ID. So should my mom have automatically been denied the right to vote because she no longer has a photo ID? And that's what we really just need to think about that now. And when they say, well, how difficult is it? Just go get another one. Well, my mother was in her 80s, right? That wasn't that easy. A fixed income, you got to go get another, number one, you got to get there. Number two, you got to pay for it. We just need to think it's not, but the right to vote, may the best man or best woman win. That's the country that we live in. It is one of the most basic rights that we've been guaranteed in this country. And the effort to take that away from anybody is a doggone shame. And we just got here. One more question. Yes, sir.
So I'm a long time former cop, I really.
Birds and so on. What else have you shot? I'm a cop. Now, you think I'm going to let you get away with that? I shot birds and so on. It's the so on part.
What bothers the hell out of me is the assault rifle and Saturday night special. Isn't there some kind of a reasonable limit on gun ownership that should be general throughout?
Those are the things that I'm saying we need to sit down and talk about. You know, I'm a law enforcement officer, and I've gone to way too many police officers' funerals. Never been to one. Funerals are bad as it is, but a law enforcement officer's funeral, I'm not sure why you need ammunition that can penetrate body armor. Because who wears body armor? Police officers. So we really need to have that